Ciao and welcome. So here's the story. We returned from Leicester yesterday afternoon, having spent 5 days with my son Roberto and his girlfriend, where Julie and I are helping them doing up an old place. They purchased this house and we've been doing some plumbing work, some plastering, general decorating, just to give them a hand. They live 3 hours away. So we tend to take with us some of the perishable food when we go, because we're going to be away for a while. But we forgot that we had some bananas under the stays, and they've gone very, very mushy. If you look, they're not good for general consumption. So I'll be making 3 different recipes today, definitely not throwing them away, and I'll share them with you. But before I do that, let me share a little tip with you, because actually this is something that you might not be aware of. When we buy our bananas, we don't just leave them on the worktop. We only leave there what we're going to be using on the day. Then we buy actually 2 different batches. The yellow ones, which is for immediate consumption, and also something which is a little bit greener. And we place them inside a little freezer bag, one of those that got this aluminium looking material on the inside. We zip it close and we keep it in a cool place under the stays. And they last for a long, long time. If you notice, these ones actually, they are 2 weeks old. They didn't go black, they stayed yellow, but clearly they've gone soft. So that is a little tip for you in case you wish to do the same, because often bananas, they tend to go black, and this is actually that helps you prevent it. All 3 recipes are very simple, by the way, but I'll start with the simplest one, and I'll be making a frozen banana cream, and I'm going to call it banana nice cream. So I've had 6 bananas. 2 of them, I chopped them in little pieces and I placed them in the freezer this morning, about a couple of hours ago. So the smaller you chop them, the shorter the amount of time they'll take to freeze. So they are solid frozen at the moment, and I'll show you very quickly what I'll do with this batch. Fruit processor, put them inside. Before I start blending them, I'm going to add a little milk so that helps them blend together. And I'll blend away. Just enough to get them going initially. This is a chunky peanut butter, so I'm going to scoop 1 generous teaspoon and add it in. This is cinnamon, just a little sprinkle goes in on top. In quantity is entirely up to you really, but maybe a half a teaspoon. And some nuts. I'll be using a small handful of pecan nuts, that much. It's only 2 bananas, but you can use any nuts you like. Whole nuts would be also very good, or almonds, entirely up to you of course. But I think pecan nuts will blend really well with the banana. I'm adding a little bit more milk. You can also use yogurt if you prefer, it doesn't have to be milk. And I will give it one final mix. How long you mix it for is entirely up to you. All depends on if you like it very, very smooth, or if you don't prefer it smooth and you want a little chunky nuts in there. If I can remove this, I've done it. And I'll pour it in my little glass, which has got my straw already there. And I'll just taste it first. And it's absolutely delicious. You can also add a little honey if you want to make it sweeter. But I'll remove the straw and I'll place it in the freezer. And I'll leave it to effectively cool down and freeze a little bit more before I can actually eat it later. And of course you can make that with any fruit. It doesn't have to be bananas, could be anything, apple, pears, or raspberry, or blackberries. And they do not have to be bananas which are going off. Normal bananas will be perfectly okay, as long as you freeze them beforehand and then you follow the same process. And you can add, as I said to you before, yogurt or any ingredient you like, but do ensure that they marry the fruit obviously you are blending. The second recipe is still very simple, but does include a little bit of baking, but as I said, very, very simple. So I'll be using another couple of bananas, 1 egg. I got here some plain flour and some baking powder, a little honey or sugar depending on your preferences, or also on how sweet your bananas are, cinnamon once again, and some dark chocolate, and a little ricotta. I will be making some muffins, but you can also use a baking tin if you like. Entirely up to you. I think muffins are a little bit more flexible in terms of how many you have. So I'm gently peeling the skin from my very soft bananas. I think this is one of those recipes where the softer the better. Look, they just come off ever so easily. And they're so soft that just by using a simple fork they mash very quickly, a bit like almost whipping some cream. Ricotta next. This tub weighs 250 grams. I want approximately 150, so if I go halfway, that's 125 and a little bit more. Followed by the egg next. And I'll mix everything together once again. And literally within 30 seconds, the ricotta, the egg and the bananas have blended perfectly together. Flour next, and I need 100 grams, so I'll take this to 0. 3 and 4 labeled dessert spoons should be enough. 110, that'd be perfectly okay. As I'm using plain flour, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoon of baking powder. If you were to use self-raising flour, you can skip the baking powder. I mentioned honey earlier, and this is when I'm going to be adding it. I will be putting 1 generous tablespoon, but you can also use sugar, as I said, in quantities entirely up to you. Cinnamon next, and I'm measuring a small level teaspoon. Scales can go out of the way, and I'll mix it once again. And you can use your fork to do this, you don't need to mess up any other kitchen utensils, it's perfectly okay. See, it's absorbing all of the flour and it's working very well. And I'm nearly ready. The last thing is chocolate. I've got some dark chocolate and I've chopped it in little pieces and I will be adding it last. And I'll give it this one final mix so that the chocolate is evenly distributed. I just finished applying a little batter inside my silicone muffin tin and I'm ready to start pouring in my mix. I did say pouring, but actually I'm using a spoon instead, which is considerably easier. And also you can level them up so that they are all similar size. And having finished scrubbing every last gram of it, they're ready to go in the oven. They will be going in for 20 to 22 minutes, temperature 160 degrees in a fan assisted oven. If you've got a normal conventional oven, up it by 10 degrees to 170. You will know when they're ready because they will look beautiful and brown in color. So I'll go and pop them in the oven and I'll start with recipe number 3. So the first recipe was dead simple, no cooking, no baking, just food processor, the freezer, away you go. The second recipe, dead simple also, a little baking, but still you can see how simple it was. And with the third recipe, I will maintain the theme of simplicity and I will be using the hob. But again, nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated, as I will be making some banana pancakes or mini fritters. So very quickly, a couple of bananas, the last 2 as it happens. Baking powder again and a little vanilla extract, cinnamon. I think you'll have figured by now that I do like cinnamon. 1 egg, a little flour and a pinch of salt. And once again I'll start by adding my soft bananas inside a glass bowl. And I'll mix it together with a fork. By the way, should you use a normal banana, meaning not a soft one, just have it on a flat plate first and then go with a fork until you mash it up, and then you can achieve the same by placing it inside a glass bowl and mix it together. Just like before, egg goes in next, followed by a couple of tablespoons of flour and a little pinch of salt. And if you like your pancakes to be a little fluffier, add a half a teaspoon of baking powder. A very optional pinch of cinnamon, or you can also use nutmeg, by the way, if you prefer, or none, neither. And this is my vanilla, and I'll put a little splash, about 1 teaspoon. And I'll start combining this until a thick batter should form. And continue mixing until all of the flour has been absorbed. You don't need to go mad, by the way, don't overdo it. Just something like this is just perfect. Can you see all of my flour is gone and I got a lovely and thick uniform paste. This is a non-stick frying pan, medium temperature, and I'll start by applying a knob of butter. So the butter has totally dissolved. Ensure that it covers the entire area of the frying pan. And here is my mix, and I'll add a couple of spoons, enough to cover the entire surface, just like if you were making normal pancakes. But this is a little bit thicker, so you must make sure that you distribute it evenly across the surface of your frying pan. And as mine is very thick, actually I've added a 3rd spoon, but if you prefer it to be a little bit less dense, add a little milk to the batter and then it will go further. But I like to be a little bit denser and fluffier. And the principle is exactly the same as if you were making pancakes. Medium temperature, do not have it too high, otherwise it will burn. 1.5 to 2 minutes, and then we can turn them around. And if you want to know when is the best time to turn it around, just move your pan. Can you see that it's moving? So I'll just go underneath with my little spatula and I'll flip it the other way. And I will leave it for another couple of minutes until it's cooked through, as it's a little bit thick of course, and it's beautiful and golden in color underneath. And I think we are ready. Let's take a look. Perfect. So that can come off. I'll put it on a little plate over here. I'll do the other, or the others, depending how many I manage to make, and then I'll show you what to do to serve them up. And two is what I've managed to make, but they are very thick, look, just as I like them. So, as I said before, if you add a little milk, you can make 3 or even 4. Now, these are very much individual choices, just like pancakes, and you can add anything you like, but I'm going to show you what I'll do with mine. So this is honey, and I'll sprinkle some on top of my pancakes. My honey has solidified a little. I think it's because it's near the end, so I'm using a knife to take it out. But just go along and spread it evenly like this. Once again, I'll be using pecan nuts because they are absolutely delicious and go really well with banana. But you can use anything you like, or you don't have to use any nuts. Every week Julie and I go shopping, and this is one of our little treats. Pecan, I think they're little mini pecan cakes. They sell them in the supermarket. We buy one each, and that's the first thing we eat when we go home. They're really delicious, and these are not too dissimilar. Obviously, these are made with banana. If you make them the same size as me, be careful as you start rolling them because they're a little bit thick and they could break. So just take your time. That is one done. Knife, and off I go. I'll make a few slices. This one is extra, so I'll take the opportunity to taste it. It's a bit big, but my god, they're delicious, really nice. Anyway, I'll slice the second one and I'll go and get the ricotta and banana muffins, as they will be ready in about 5 minutes. Non tutti i mali vengono per nuocere, which is an old Italian saying. The translation is something like not all evils come to harm, or maybe better still, a more widely used translation is something like every cloud has got a silver lining. If I didn't forget the bananas, I wouldn't have made these 3 desserts today. So everything happens for a reason. I just put a little honey on top of my muffins, and I'll sprinkle some icing sugar. I've done the same with my pancakes there, by the way. And I'll do this also. And here is my drink straight out of the freezer, still cold, and I'll put a little straw in the middle, and they're ready. I'll just rest the muffin. I've tasted also and they were lovely, and see what this is like. Hot, but really delicious. Sorry, I got my mouth full. Ensure that you do the little skewer test, by the way, so that it comes out dry, just like a normal cake. And leave them to rest for about 10 minutes before you get them out of the tin. Ideally, eat them when they're cold. They're still hot, but they're really nice. And that is it, really. Make them and see how you get on. You can make one of them, you can make 2 of them, or all 3. And let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and buon appetito, and arrivederci. Ciao ciao.